Hey guys, I'm Jordy, and this is your guide to the fight that turns you into a mutant horde of Saurochs, the Golem-inspired masterpiece that is Primordius.
Oh, your flesh, yes, so perfect. Give it to us.
Okay, so we've entered into this weird red chamber beneath the palace and find it's filled with slimes that just keep coming. Teleporting around the room is the guy blocking our progress back to the surface, Primordius. Lei Shen's scientists have done a number on this fellow, and he finds himself mutated beyond recognition and now has an insatiable hunger for anima that only you can stop. By killing him.
I just want to talk to him.
Why do you have a shotgun?
I just want to talk to him.
Okay, so Primordius is a single phase fight, one where we'll snort some of the good stuff Primordius is on in order to get on his level and enable us to deal full damage to him. Raid comp wise, this is a 2 tank 5 healer fight. The healing at the start of the encounter isn't too bad, but towards the end it does really ramp up hard, so you'll be glad that you brought them. Alright, like I mentioned, Primordius always has a buff on himself called Mutated Abomination. This reduces all of the damage he takes by 75% across the board. And in order to deal full damage, players will look to mutate themselves into these gorgeous creatures and Giga Blast the boss with the buffs that they get to take him down. Now, in order to do that, we'll look to take advantage of the other things going on in this room. Spread out every 30 degrees or so are pools of anima, from which red living fluids will spawn every few seconds or so and slowly travel towards Primordius, attempting to feed him. These things don't have a ton of HP, and when they die, they leave behind pools of anima ripe for the taking if players so choose. Now when they die, they'll either leave behind a red pool or a corrupted purple one. If a player runs over a red pool, they'll take about 100k nature damage, but also pick up a single debuff, which we'll now call blue mutations, that increase the player's stats in some way. Here are the various debuffs you can get. It's completely random which you get, and you can get multiple of the same one. Now each pool can apply 3 of these to a player, and once 3 debuffs have been applied, the pool is consumed. Now, if a player gets 5 of these blue mutations, they will fully mutate, turning into this gorgeous thing and enabling full DPS on the boss. So, the goal here is to kill a bunch of these living fluids, have the raid slurp up the anima on the ground without killing themselves from the damage that the pools do, and then turn their attention to the boss and blast him. However, because of course, it's not that simple. I mentioned it earlier, but the living fluids will occasionally drop a volatile pool, or a purple one, instead of a red one. Now these apply a bad debuff, or a red mutation, instead of a blue one. Now these are twice as effective in the other direction as the blue ones, and also leave a dot on the player afflicted with it. You might be saying, hey, we should just cleanse those. And sure, I kind of agree, but if you do, you also cleanse off every blue mutation that that player might have. So, you'll be looking to avoid the purple ones, soak the red ones, get to 5 mutations, and blast. Okay, one more thing with these. If you have 5 blue mutations already, any red pool you walk over will now give you a red mutation. So let's say if a player gets 2 or more red mutations, it's really in your best interest to say, sorry, you screwed up, we're cleansing you so you don't die. Try again. However, if you are cleansed, you will still keep whatever is left of your 2-minute fully mutated debuff, enabling you to do full damage to the boss. But you then can also go get 5 new blue mutations. And if you get 5, you'll refresh that fully mutated debuff. Yes, I get it. This is a weird mechanic, and it's kind of difficult to explain clearly, so here is a quick infographic. Red pools give up to 3 blue or good mutations. Purple pools give red or bad mutations. If you get 5 blue mutations, you will fully mutate and can DPS the boss. Once you have 5, all the pools will now give red mutations. And if you get cleansed, you can then get up to 5 new blue mutations, and at 5, you will refresh your fully mutated debuff. There, print it and ship it. Okay, so what else is going on in this fight? First, Primordius's only ability on pull is the aptly named Primordial Strike. This is a cone ability that does 900k physical damage and is on a timer. So, as you move him around, which we'll mention why in a second, you need to make sure you're not in front of the boss or you could get one shot. This doesn't go for the tank, of course, just everybody else. Now this is on a 20-second cooldown, so it's not totally scary, just watch the timer and be sure when it's possible to be cast that you're not in front of him. Now, Primordius himself may look pretty mutated already, but he's only getting started as over time his energy will tick up. And if he reaches 60 energy, he will mutate, increasing his damage done by 5%, but also gaining one of 6 extra abilities that he'll now use on your raid. Now we'll go over those in a second, but also know that if any of the living fluids reach Primordius, he'll slurp them up and gain extra energy, increasing the speed at which he'll mutate again. So, you want to do your best to clear the living fluids before they get to him, but just know some will absolutely reach him during the fight, and that's okay, just do your best. Okay, so Primordius's mutations. We'll go through these super quickly, but just know none of them are insanely scary except for maybe this first one, Acidic Spines. When he's imbued with this, he'll occasionally cause players to explode around them for 110,000 nature damage, so you'll need to make sure you're spread out so as to avoid this from hitting too many people, as that extra damage can't be afforded while there's so much else going on. Then there's Ventral Sacs, that's just an AoE dot that you need to heal through. Volatile Pathogen, which causes random raid members to get a dot on them for 10 seconds. Healers, if you see this, consider a small external for that player like Hand of Sac. Next, Erupting Pustules. Now this one can be tricky as it's often hard to see the ground effect that spawns under players, so if you see it going out, make sure you move away from where you were standing. And Caustic Gas, this is a big soak mechanic that splits 2 million damage between everybody in the circle. You need to try to soak this, ranged and healers, if you can to help mitigate that damage. And then finally, Metabolic Boost. This increases his attack speed by 50% and makes him cast other abilities faster, which can be nasty in conjunction with other stuff. So be careful with this one. Now it's completely RNG which you get, and he can only get a max of 4 of these on Heroic. If his energy reaches max and he gets a new mutation, he'll just swap from one of the ones he's got to a different one. Now Foji has a nice graphic on screen top right here showing what his current mutations are so you can plan ahead, but we really didn't feel like this was too tough to deal with after we understood each of them. Alright, we're just about done. If Primordius is ever moved over a purple pool on the ground, he'll heal 10% HP and instantly gain max energy and evolve a new mutation. Now this is very, very bad, so tanks, you'll need to watch out for these and make sure not to move him over any. Okay, last thing, and then we'll talk about strategy. On Heroic, every 30 seconds, a big slime will spawn called the Viscous Horror. This thing moves much faster and trucks hard, so one of your tanks needs to identify where it spawns quickly and taunt it, or else it will one-shot one of your healers. If it reaches the boss, it will explode, wiping your entire raid. So be extra careful not to let it do that. Ask me how I know. Okay, so there's one more issue with these. Every so often, Primordius will apply malformed blood to his current target, and the Viscous Horror will apply black blood. Now these de facto do the same thing. They apply a big dot, but also give extra damage to the other tanked mob. So, you'll be looking to taunt swap these occasionally, somewhere between 8 and 10 stacks so that you can allow for the dot to fall off, but also so you can do juiced damage to the other mob. Now this, coupled with Vengeance, should really pump big damn. So watch it tanks and use it accordingly. Okay, that's all of the mechanics. Yes, it is a lot. Let's get into the walkthrough. First, here's a picture of the room. This and raid plans for every boss in Throne of Thunder are available in my assignment sheet that's out now on Patreon if you're looking for those. Now we assign 2 players to each lane. with the melee helping out where it makes sense, and attempt to keep the boss around one side of the room generally for a while. Now the strategy I'm about to do is one way to do it. There are many, but this worked for us. For the first 90 seconds, the raid is simply focusing on the living fluids, killing them as they spawn, but not getting any mutations if they can help it. Then, at about 90 seconds in, we call for the entire raid to grab their buffs, grabbing 5 stacks of blue mutations and having the entire raid mutate. At this point, we pop Bloodlust and drag the boss close-ish to one side of the room, away from any purple pools of course, and the raid goes ham. Now range DPS, while this is happening, you should still work to multi-dot and cleave the living fluids as they come in. Warlocks are especially good at this, but the boss should melt pretty good from here. Now once that area around the boss is full up with purple on the ground, we shift it a bit to a new quadrant, being careful not to cone anyone standing in the boss's path. Melee, you should never leave the boss at this point, but you do need to be hyper aware of any pools on the ground. You can't afford to take any debuffs. 1, because it will give you a dot, and 2, it'll lower your DPS. And I know you guys don't want that. If you do get more than 2, the healers should look to cleanse you, and if you notice you have no blue or red mutations, go slurp a quick 5 blue mutations to refresh. Now that goes for everybody at this point also. If your fully mutated buff is near expiring, you can call for a dispel and get a quick 5 fresh blue mutations to refresh it and keep pumping. One thing I want to make sure is clear here, dispelling doesn't remove fully mutated. It just removes the blue or red mutations. So, like I said, we move a bit around the room, being extra careful not to run over any pools, watching out for the boss's various mutation abilities, and popping defensives like Devo, Barrier, Rally, etc. for them as he does. While you're doing all of this, the raid should be killing as many living fluids as is feasible, while also keeping damage high on the boss. Now this is a balancing act, and you'll find it pretty quick, but warlocks, shamans, anybody with good AoE that doesn't affect their single target too much should really look to carry much of the damage on the living fluids. And at this point, it's just a race. Can you DPS the boss quick enough so that the damage he's gaining from his evolution doesn't overwhelm you? If so, down he goes, and you can march up the stairs to... No, I don't want to say it. Let's just enjoy this win for a moment. Boss is fucking easy.
Hey, we're not done yet. Stop.
Fingers down.
Fucking Jordy, don't say that shit.
Yeah, boss is easy.
Okay, let's talk about some tank tips. Tanks, this is a tough fight for you. You're managing stacks of a debuff, a quick moving ad that will wipe the raid if not quickly picked up. You're moving the boss so that he's not slurping pools, and you're being careful not to face the boss toward anybody because of that primordial cone. So, communicate clearly with your other tank and think ahead about where you want to move the boss. You can even call it out. Hey, we're moving toward the entrance next, so don't be anywhere near there right now. This will help people get out of the way. For healers, big things here are externals for the tanks when their stacks get kind of high, knowing when to dispel players with their red mutations, and watching your positioning so that you're not at risk of getting coned by the boss. Additionally, those big raid CDs need to be used for the mutations. Things like acidic explosion, caustic gas, and ventral sacs will all do significant damage to the raid, especially late into the fight, so plan ahead with cooldowns. And for the DPS, keeping your feet out of puddles you don't want to stand in as usual is key here. And knowing when to DPS the boss versus the fluids is of high importance. Cleave is hugely helpful, but if you see a living fluid is near full HP and only 5 feet from the boss, it's unlikely it's going to die, so that DPS doesn't matter and you can ignore it. But if one is low, maybe swap targets to it to finish it off so that it doesn't. It's all about knowing what's feasible to get dead. And use those defenses for the boss's mutations. It's critical that you live to get him dead quick enough to outpace the evolutions, so watch those timers and know whether you need to spread or stack depending on what's coming next. And anybody with a taunt, if you do notice a Viscous horror is barreling toward the boss and the tank's not close enough to grab it, you can hero play and taunt it and boot it away from the boss so as to prevent a wipe. Okay, and that's it for Primordius. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm not kidding when I say it measurably helps me and increases the quality of these guides. Now, as far as Primordius, I really like this fight. It's a frantic race to take him down, and I'm glad I do, because the next fight, Dark Animus, might be my least favorite fight in all of classic World of Warcraft so far. And that's even counting General Vezax and Amber Shaper. But a guide is coming, so sit tight and we'll get you through it. See you all in that one.